Welcome back to another edition of Mic Drop here, made possible by the Believe Network, available everywhere you get your podcasts, and that also includes SiriusXM and a part of their stations around the country. Again, Mike Asti, and on this edition of the show, I'm going to kind of introduce you to somebody new to the Pittsburgh sports market, somebody that you're going to be hearing certainly emphasizing the term hearing a lot from, especially if you're a hockey fan, a Penguins fan moving forward. Kind of give you an introduction to the Penguins' new radio play-by-play, Joe Brand, who comes from the Blackhawks organization. And then maybe we'll talk some Penguins as well, get his takes on the Penguins from afar, as he is now about to be a member of an organization, as he is the new radio play-by-play. So without any further ado, I will welcome on, Joe. So first off, Joe, happy to have you on the show. Thanks for jumping aboard here kind of last minute. I know you're doing some of these. You're packing up your whole life, as you told me, and you're moving to the East Coast and moving to Pittsburgh. So how has the last 24 hours been for you while we're recording this? You're about 24 hours removed from the Penguins officially announcing the news, and I imagine that's been a whirlwind.
Whirlwind is a good word. Mike, thank you for having me on. I'm thrilled to do these. I'm really excited to meet the fan base and get invested in it all. I know how passionate of a group the Penguins fans are, so I'm appreciative.
To say the least, yes.
Yeah, exactly. But that was a selling point of this job, you know.
Okay.
I know how passionate this fan base is and how much they care about not only hockey, but hockey on the radio, which is pretty cool. Yeah, the last 24 hours has been wild. I knew it was going to be wild, but still the overwhelming support I've been getting on social media and everything is just fantastic. I couldn't be more grateful for all my previous experiences and previous jobs and previous bosses that have helped me get to this point. It's really overwhelming. I'm feeling all the love. And once again, if there's somebody out there that has reached out that hasn't heard from me, I apologize. I'm trying to get to everyone as quickly as I can. I don't think my thumbs have ever moved this fast to my phone before over the last 24 hours, but it's been fun. It's been really cool. And I'm just very grateful.
Yeah, you got a thumb cramp or something here. Probably got to do a workout just for the thumb because, again, thank you. You got back to me within a couple minutes, so it seems like you're filtering through and able to get back to people and not missing anything important for sure. But I'm sure a lot is coming your way, both from Pittsburgh and even congratulations on the Chicago end. I saw a lot of that for you as well.
Yeah. I think I'm shortening the time to start experiencing arthritis with everything I've been on my phone and computer lately. But no, it's cool. And the one thing I've heard so much about Pittsburgh is how much it's like Chicago, but it's its own wonderful city on its own also.
Yeah, I can kind of see that.
I'm really, really excited to get involved and live in the city and learn the culture and dive in with both feet. I couldn't be more thrilled.
And as you will probably get used to and maybe are aware of already, the Pittsburgh Penguin fan is very often a fan of all the other teams around. The Pittsburgh sports fan usually is very tied into all the teams around. And it is kind of a big little city. It's a big city. It's a top 25 market, but everyone kind of knows everybody. You kind of have that family atmosphere as well. And you'll maybe also be able to give your opinion after living in Pittsburgh for a while on whether or not you think it is on the East Coast, the Midwest, or neither, because that debate exists. And you're coming from the Midwest. So that debate kind of exists because it's right there, smack dab, kind of in the middle, doesn't really fit on either. But again, speaking with Joe Brand here, the new radio play-by-play voice of the Pittsburgh Penguins, coming from the Blackhawks, coming from Chicago, as he now was just announced and is coming this way here on Mic Drop with Believe and available on SiriusXM. So I did want to kind of give you an opportunity also outside of just reading your bio and reading the announcement and what the Penguins wrote for you, give you an opportunity to any Penguins fans or Pittsburgh fans in general listening or watching this, because we're doing video as well, to introduce yourself, kind of explain your journey, what got you here, what do you even know about the past of your position in radio voices of the Penguins. Obviously, we're talking Mike Lang, and that's an important voice to be aware of and some big shoes to kind of fill, even though not immediately directly. and a lot of expectations comes with that. But just what you're aware of Pittsburgh, what you know about the Penguins, obviously, and then your journey, where you came from outside of called Blackhawks games, WGN Radio 720 out there, but maybe a little bit more. Anything you want the fans to kind of know about yourself here as an intro?
Yeah, I'm loving learning all this history about the Penguins and about Mike Lang and just the city of Pittsburgh. Reading Phil Bork's book was a must.
I was going to ask you about his call. I saw what he said to you right away.
Yeah, and honestly, like, he's just one of a handful of people from Pittsburgh with the Penguins that have just been so welcoming and so encouraging. I mean, it's one thing to land this job and this opportunity, but for it to be with the Pittsburgh Penguins, a stoic franchise.
Yeah, it's a major opportunity from a media perspective. I mean, I've had big opportunities, but this is a mammoth opportunity, and I think we're around the same age. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again, you get involved in this business, and you just try to go for any opportunities that are open, because these jobs come up seldomly.
Sure.
And then as this process went along, I'm like really, like the Pittsburgh Penguins, I can really land this.
Yeah.
And yeah, listen, I didn't grow up listening to Mike Lang, but I definitely knew who he was growing up. And I used to produce Blackhawks broadcasts on the radio, and we always did an out of town segment, and I would always kind of rank Mike Lang's up at the top, just because everyone knew who was calling the game and where the highlight was coming from when you'd hear "Scratch My Back with a Hacksaw."
Yeah, it's unique. It's a little unique. Yeah,
exactly.
Right. But
I've said before, it's those types of broadcasters that are able to show their personality, but it's their personality resonating with a fan base, and it just makes it so authentic and so cool and so personable. And I'm ready for that challenge. I'm excited for that challenge. I'm not going to be Mike Lang. I don't want to be Mike Lang.
No one can be.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't, the Penguins fans don't deserve that. So I'm just, listen, I understand how significant of a position this is. I'm not taking it lightly, but I'm just super thrilled and super excited to get started.
Yeah, I would imagine. And again, it's a big opportunity just looking at the Penguin franchise, the 5 Stanley Cups, the success, the names that have been there, Lemieux, Yager, Crosby, Malkin, who are still there. But also when you're talking about even the lineage of the position with Mike Lang, a Hall of Famer in his own right. And yeah, that unique style, being able to incorporate your personality. I've called games as well in my career, and being able to incorporate your personality as a play-by-play is easier said than done. The color guy has that opportunity to do that, and it's normally welcome. But for a play-by-play, that's hard to do, because you don't want to step on the color guy. You don't want to be too much of a personality. You don't want to miss the action. But Mike Lang was able to do it all perfectly and not step on anybody, and everyone just loved it. And he kind of was a combo mix. So no one can be him again, but being yourself probably would be the advice I'd imagine he would give you, is don't try to be me, be yourself. And that's how you have success. But I know you called Blackhawks games, and you were with WGN Radio out there. You did some studio work there as a host as well. You called some other sports, I think football too.
I haven't called football in a bit, but a lot of baseball.
Okay, awesome. Awesome. But any more on your background in terms of what got you here, in terms of maybe a big moment that you did call with the Blackhawks, or what that experience was like? Because that's an original 6 franchise. That's a long tenured franchise. Chicago's a sports city, very similar to Pittsburgh, very passionate. The Penguins haven't been around as long, even though certainly have had their share of success, to say the least. But the Blackhawks had their 3 recent Stanley Cups, and they were part of a little mini dynasty as well, kind of rebooting things to what it was. So how much of that did you experience on the air? Were you a Blackhawk fan growing up, I guess? More on your background and your journey?
Well, I'm sure in this tough business, you just pick up opportunities
100%.
wherever they come and wherever they present themselves. And you can't say no a lot, because they don't open up. Yeah. So the goal has always been play-by-play. The dream has always been to be in a booth and be the bridge from the game to the fans.
And hockey as well, was that the number one for you?
I mean, listen, I got in originally falling in love with baseball, but so I've told this story. I grew up.
I don't think anyone hold that against you. I just was wondering.
No, for sure. I grew up in Chicago, where listen, as much as I love the sport of baseball and love both teams,
Yeah.
they weren't that successful. And,
I guess.
my dad and I
That's good.
really could only relate to sports. And it was a tough upbringing. And then all of a sudden, the Blackhawks became relevant again when I was in high school. And I woke up one Christmas morning. My dad had gotten me a Marty Havlat jersey, and he's like, "The Hawks are coming back. They got all these good young kids like this guy."
Okay.
Havlat wasn't that young at the time, so he was a little bit off. But he was correct on the overall message. And I just fell in love with the sport right away. It's just such a niche sport, which I think resembles baseball. I think that's why I took such a liking to it. And then the Blackhawks just became appointment television in high school and in college, and that just allowed me to get fully invested in the league overall too. I mean, I wasn't walking around in a Penguins sweater, but the Penguins were kind of my Eastern Conference team because
Okay.
for all the similarities with
Yeah.
Taves and Kane, Crosby and Malkin.
Yeah.
I'm rooting for Pittsburgh. We're in this when they're in the Stanley Cup final against the Red Wings. And there's also the similarity of both teams trying to complete the moniker of becoming a dynasty. And all the questions arise when you don't get that third one just yet. And the journey for the Penguins was maybe a little bit more dramatic than the Hawks because the Hawks won their 3 cups in 6 years. But to win not only 3 cups, but 2 in back-to-back fashion is not easy to do. And I think that just is significant as Sidney Crosby is in the sport of hockey, let alone Pittsburgh. I think that just kind of solidified his greatness and put him up there with one of the best. He would have been up there regardless, but it just kind of, adds some shine to that name. And so that's from afar. That's how I've always idolized the Penguins. And, I couldn't be more grateful for the opportunities I've had at WGN Radio and with the Blackhawks to work for the team I grew up rooting for and getting to call games, getting to call play-by-play for that team. But now I get to do it on a daily basis.
Right.
Incredible organization like the Penguins, and I get to just fully invest myself in the fan base. I'm really lucky. I really am.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's some emotions too, leaving home, leaving the team you grew up rooting for. But yeah, this is a step up opportunity. It's a Penguin organization in terms of being able to do it on a daily basis rather than filling in, and then it's the Penguins. I'm sure this is one you didn't have to take more than a second to say yes to, I'd imagine.
Right, exactly. I mean, it's bittersweet for anyone to leave home and leave their their childhood team. But listen, man, this is a business, and once the opportunity presents itself, I am fully invested. And again, it's the Pittsburgh Penguins. It's not any NHL franchise. It's a big one, and I don't make this decision if it's not completely worth it, and it's more than worth it. I would do this 10 times out of 10.
Yeah, and back during that period, you kind of were talking about there the Blackhawks 3 cups, like a quasi connection with Marian Hossa, a part of those Blackhawk cups. Obviously, the loser on both the Penguins and Red Wings Cup final back-to-back years, and then got his rings with the Blackhawks there during that run. Again, talking with Joe Brand, the new play-by-play voice for the Pittsburgh Penguins here, Mike Asti on Mic Drop. So you'd mentioned Phil Bourque, the old 2-9er there, and kind of talking to him and him welcoming you. Number one, anything you can share about that conversation? I did see some was in the Penguins write-up on what he actually said to you, because that's obviously a voice Penguin fans are very familiar with, and it kind of was funny on the line that I saw, something like "Welcome to the show, kid," or something to that effect. So anything more you can share there? And was there any other big name, whether it be nationally or even locally, that maybe would jump out that you can share that you talked to, or any parts of that about now having this opportunity to call games for the Penguins?
Listen, Borky comes as advertised, and that's what I love about him, even though I really don't know him that much, but I kind of feel like I've known him now for maybe a year or two, just because he's that kind of natural, casual, welcoming, warm person. And he actually reached out to me during the interview process, because there was a part of the interview where we did a mock broadcast and I was with him, and he made me feel so comfortable leading up to that. And right from the get-go, I felt a little bit more at ease about the whole situation. I know he's a veteran in the booth, so I know I don't have to worry about him. Not only that, I can lean on him. I can use him as support, and that's what I'm thrilled to do this season, along with whoever else fills in. I know Colby and Michelle have done a great job filling in as well on radio. But yeah, it was just kind of icing on the cake when I give him a call after getting the job, and he knew I had gotten the job, and the first thing he says is "Welcome to the show, kid." And those are the types of things you dream about. I mean, that's exactly what you envision when you land one of these big moments, and it's cool that he lived up to that for me.
It's almost like wish you could have recorded it almost just to have.
Right. But no, and with all the great broadcasters that I've learned from in Chicago, we're big on color commentators too. I know how important they are. Steve Stone, Eddie Olczyk, Darren Pang, Darren Jackson, Ron Coomer, Ron Sano. They're all very important. Stacey King. That's what I love about the broadcast. Of course, I want to do a great job. Of course, I want to be great, all that stuff. But I care most about the product. And I think the relationship between the play-by-play and color commentator makes the overall product a great one. It's not one person, it's both.
100%.
That also goes into just the sound of the broadcast. I love to incorporate Nat sound when I can. I learned that kind of to a closer point with baseball, because there is a lot more opportunity to have the crack of the bat, the pop of the mitt. I love when I'm able to incorporate the sound in hockey broadcasts too, when it pings off the post or off the crossbar, and you hear the rise of the crowd, or you hear a hard crunching hit into the boards. I love when you can complement the broadcast using those sounds, just because I feel like it's easier on the listener's ear. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to keep people tuned in, but more importantly, keep people entertained and make them feel like they're at the game. And that's not just capable. That's not just possible by me talking the entire time. There's a lot more that goes into it. So
100%. Yeah.
So I'm thrilled to work with this crew. I feel like everyone is just hardworking, has a lot of fun, but is ready to kick ass too. So I'm honored to be a part of it.
You call a game with Chelios?
I did, and you know what? That was my first full NHL game.
Wow. I mean, that's the introduction, and welcome to the show, kid. I mean, obviously, Old 2-9er is a nice name, but we're talking about Hall of Famer there, one of the greatest defensemen of all time.
Yeah, how about it? Because I had done some AHL games in Rockford, and again, like, this is where the great leadership I had with the Blackhawks and WGN Radio helped out, because I was doing pre and post, and they needed some fill-in work down with the AHL affiliate, and I really didn't have much hockey experience. I wanted to do it, and they were willing to let me do that. Like, they can say, no, we want you to do pre and post, but they were very accommodating. They were very flexible. And those games did wonders for my confidence in calling hockey, because it's not the easiest thing to just jump into.
No, it's easier said than done in terms of calling even all the sports, and pre and post is a whole different job. I mean, I've experienced that. I mean, that's a whole different thing. So yeah, they could have easily said, that's your job. This isn't your job. You got hired for this, not that. Yeah. 100%.
For sure. So I know I don't get this opportunity without that. But my first game was midway through the game. John Weideman, who's the great longtime radio voice of the Blackhawks, 3 Stanley Cups. He's going to be a Hall of Famer one day. His throat was out. It was, I mean, he was struggling big time. And he had to take a breather halfway through the game. So that was technically my NHL debut, but I did not have time to prepare on either team. I'm just kind of flying at the seat of my pants. But because John needed time to recover, I was informed maybe a day or two later that they wanted me to do the next game. And they're like, you get the whole game. We're giving you fair warning this time so you can actually prepare. And Chris Chelios is sitting shotgun. And like, okay, all right, this is too good to be true. So yeah, just more of the storybook, the storybook experience with the Blackhawks. And again, couldn't be more grateful for those opportunities, and everything happens for a reason. And I'm so thrilled that this is now a part of my journey, and all those experiences have now led me to this.
Yeah, and I can imagine again, Joe Brand here, the new radio play-by-play voice of the Pittsburgh Penguins, former Blackhawks, but now Pittsburgh Penguins. He's going to be in your ears soon, Penguin fans, but we're talking to him on Mic Drop now, giving you an intro. So I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I do want to get your thoughts, though, on the Penguins now as a franchise, as a team, the state of the current Penguins. You mentioned the championships. It's been a while since those, as you're going to get familiar with. The fans, they're getting anxious. They do feel like with in the Crosby era, they should always be competitive to win a Stanley Cup, and that's not been as much the case the last couple years. It's more of a trying to get in the playoffs type of thing, which the fans are currently a little frustrated with, of course. A lot of conversations, a lot of ways we can go. We're not going to do it right now for the purpose of this, but what are your thoughts on the state of the Penguins, how competitive they realistically should be, how much you should truly go for it when you have a guy like Crosby, the landscape of the conference still, where you think the Penguins fit in, and kind of what you're expecting from this coming season from the Penguins? Obviously, a lot of your perspective would be from afar, but you're a hockey fan.
I feel like, us as sports fans want to impact the game any way that we can. And it's kind of cool that because the Penguins fan base is so passionate, there's a lot of expectations on this team. And there's just a lot of pressure to be successful. And players relish in that. And guys like Sidney Crosby relish in those types of opportunities. And listen, I know last year didn't end the way the Penguins fans wanted it to, but the team finished 8-2-2. It's not like they missed the playoffs right at the end for lack of effort. I mean, I saw that from the outside. It was a hell of a race, and they missed out on the last day.
They were in that mix with Detroit. Towards the end of the season.
Right. So, I mean, that just goes to show you more of the significance of Crosby's leadership and giving it his all to the last day. Listen, I'm jumping into this role. I'm not going to act like I know exactly what the Penguins need right now. I think Kyle Dubas is a generational mind. He's been around the block, but he thinks outside the box. He really reminds me a lot of Kyle Davidson, the general manager for the Blackhawks. I mean, aside from having the first name and both being fantastic dressers, I just feel like they're smart minds, because not only do they understand the significance of each team's history and what they've done in the past, but they're able to think outside the box with still respecting history, and just have a good mix of where the sport of hockey is going and where it's been. And I think that's the perfect key to success, to try to build a substantial and consistent winner. Easier said than done. It's the National Hockey League. It's difficult to do, but listen, man, I get an opportunity to call Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin games, and no matter how many games that is, I'm honored, and that is going to be the thrill of a lifetime, and I could not be more excited to start it.
Yeah, and we're excited to hear it, and I can just tell and feel your excitement here virtually, and hope to meet you in person when you do get moved, and whether it be in a media circle or at a game or whatever here coming up in the next few months, and then you get towards the new season, and yeah, the expectations are there. They're always going to be there with Crosby. You can't, as you saw with the Blackhawks, you can't hold on to a dynasty and be a cup contender literally every year forever. You're eventually going to dip. And maybe they're feeling that now. Maybe they're going to get close to that. Maybe they still have a chance now. It's all a question mark. But Kyle Dubas is the guy in charge now, trying to build that next era of Penguin hockey with them being a contender. And yeah, if they would have maybe brought that energy to the end of the season earlier in the season, maybe they would have been fully in the race and it wouldn't have been a thing. So we'll see if it goes on throughout the full season and what Crosby can give and what the team is like. It's a new year. And it's hard to say you're out of it when you do have Sidney Crosby on your team, no matter who else is there. But, of course, you do need a full squad here. So we'll leave more of the analysis to another show. I won't put too much on you there, since you are the new play-by-play voice on the radio for the Penguins. Joe, I definitely appreciate the time for sure. Hope to be talking to you again, and safe travels moving.
Hey, thank you very much, Mike. Like I said, everyone has been nothing but accommodating and welcoming, and you can instantly understand why people love this city of Pittsburgh and only have good things to say. So I appreciate it. I can't wait to meet everyone. Yeah. Like I said, I gotta put my life away here in Chicago, But I want to do that so that when I get to Pittsburgh, I'm just fully invested in this new chapter of life, and I couldn't be more thrilled for it. And I'll be around. So I appreciate you having me on, and let me know when I can do it again.
Yeah, absolutely. And look up yins or ease. The term yins or ease. Those type of there's websites. Look up
I've
things
heard
like
some of
that.
that. Yeah, I've taken a couple of YouTube tutorials of the
Look up
Pittsburgh
some of that.
slogans. Heard about Primanti Brothers and Primanti Brothers. Am I saying it wrong?
No, Primanti Brothers.
Okay, good. Yeah. And that's the other thing. Like, I'm a big boy. I understand constructive criticism. If I'm doing something that's not a Pittsburgh thing or out of line, anyone, please let me know. I'm fine.
Yeah, I'll shoot you a DM before the fans go at you, or try not to be too critical on shows, because that is something else that I'm sure you experience in Chicago as well. That you will become an adopted Pittsburgher. Obviously, certainly in media, not everybody's from Pittsburgh. That's just impossible. But the fan base does appreciate people that either are Pittsburghers or become adopted Pittsburghers. So if you're just slandering all of Pittsburgh, yeah, that'll be the way that they'll turn on you, even if you're calling a great game. So that's important as well. So that's something to keep in mind. But yeah, you can be an adopted Pittsburgher. It's a possible thing to accomplish. But again, Joe,
I'm very, very ready to be adopted by the city of Pittsburgh. So I appreciate that.
That's the first step, is being willing. So again, Joe, I appreciate the time. Joe Brand, the new radio play-by-play voice of the Pittsburgh Penguins, as I'm going to now allow him to go back to his moving and getting himself to Pittsburgh from Chicago. Again, former play-by-play with the Blackhawks. He was fill-in, did a lot of pre and post there. Obviously called other sports, and looks like minor league level there from reading in his bio. Got to touch hockey, got to work with Chris Chelios. That's a big deal. And then now we'll work with the old 2-9er and the rest of the crew. And he is the radio play-by-play voice of the Pittsburgh Penguins. So instead of getting my knee-deep analysis on sports, I figured I would do a little bit different of a show to introduce you to somebody who's going to be in your ears a lot as a Pittsburgh sports fan, certainly a Penguins fan. Get that here for you to kind of learn about somebody that you're going to need to be familiar with in Joe Brand. So I definitely appreciate him jumping on. I know he's getting asked a lot. I know he's done a couple of these. I won't claim to be the first, although I haven't seen another one released. So we'll see if I can or not when I get this edited and get it put out. But he's not done tons, so I'm up there on the top in terms of the front of the list of interviews he's done. And I do hope that it was an interesting, brief sneak peek into who's going to be calling those Penguin games. He's certainly familiar with the franchise. He knows the opportunity here. He knows what's in front of him. He's called games. He's ready for this. He had that rare first opportunity doing hockey with the Blackhawks, as amazing as that sounds with Chelios. This isn't his first, though, so he at least has that under his belt. He's very willing to be adopted by Pittsburgh, despite not being a Pittsburgher by birth. But you can be an adopted Pittsburgher. That is a thing, guys. Don't hold that against him, the fact that he's not from Pittsburgh. Not everybody can be. Obviously, that's impossible. And I think he's going to fit right in just off this conversation, what I've known and heard about him prior and brief interactions there. So again, happy to connect with Joe. Happy to bring him here to you guys. Once again, want to remind everybody here tuned in that you can find every episode of Mic Drop available throughout the Believe Network, also available everywhere you get your podcasts, and of course available on Sirius XM stations as well. For Joe Brand, the new radio play-by-play voice of the Pittsburgh Penguins, I'm Mike Asti. Keep it right here for future shows, and welcome to Pittsburgh, to Joe Brand.